11th, that's going to be the day to terminate at 5 p.m. So you have it dated. You have to deliver 2 checks in the old days. Today is just a money wire. And those checks are made out to the title company, and you can do it really easy. So the contract gets executed. You're going to date it. You're going to send a copy. If it's your buyer, you're going to send a copy to the buyer, the lender, and the title company. Introduce everybody and ask them to reply to all every time there's a communication, and to reply with wiring instructions so that your buyer can wire the earnest money and the option to the title company. They've got 3 days to do it. Then, if you're with the seller, you send the executed contract to the seller and the title company and introduce everybody, okay? And if you're on the buyer side, the next thing you do is you set up a home inspection. So you're going to get the home inspected inside the days that you bought. You're going to probably not get anything done because right now we're in a seller's market and no seller wants to do any repairs. And after you get through the 10-day option, then you're kind of like quarterbacking it. You're getting in touch with you're going to be getting in touch with the lender to make sure that they're moving forward. You're going to touch base with the buyer about once a week, because a lot of times a buyer, they feel like you kind of just dropped off after you go into contact. And
listen to that.
What?
Hold on a second. I'm going to mute everybody.
Yeah, that part. Take that part, and that's it.
Okay, so I worked with somebody once. I thought I did a great job. They were friends with my wife, and they later told her, like, hey, everything went great, but I just felt like they kind of didn't keep in touch with me after we went on the contract. And I thought I did, but she wanted a lot of hand-holding. So, you just want to touch base with them a couple times a week, a quick text like, hey, Dave, just checking in. Are you good? I've been in touch with the lender. Looks like we're set. The title company, why don't you go ahead and get a bid on your insurance? Because as a buyer, the buyer needs to get a bid for insurance for the full year on the house. And then as you get closer to the closing date, you want to do a walkthrough. We always know that in class we say 1 to 3 days, but I'm a big advocate that we do the walkthrough the day of closing. So that means that on Monday I have a closing in Louisville, but it's here at this title company, and the closing's at 11. And the buyer agent is doing a walkthrough today. So the buyer agent is doing a walkthrough today at 9:30 for his buyer who's in California. Well, if it was me and my buyer's in California, I go ahead and do a walkthrough today, and I do a walkthrough Monday. So the reason he's doing a walkthrough today is because the buyer's signing remotely in California, and so he's doing a walkthrough for the buyer. But my seller doesn't sign until the actual day of closing, which is Monday, okay? One thing that might be good to do is what I did with this agent is 2 days ago, I went to the listing in Louisville. I went ahead and pulled my sign. I pulled my electronic key box, and I put a combo on the door. I didn't give anybody the combo. Only me and the seller know. He's my client. Yesterday, the agent called me and said, hey, I want to do a walkthrough. And I go, okay. I put a combo on there. It's 0000. And I go, and if you're going to come to the title company, could you take the combo off and bring it up here? And that's when he told me, oh, okay, perfect. I ordered pizza and hot wings. Perfect. Do I not pay now, or did I do that?
No, they are.
That's your tip, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
You want that over here.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure. So you can just, you can just. I appreciate it. Okay, be safe. Okay, yeah. So anyway, a lot of times as a buyer's agent, that's something really nice to do. If let's say that you have an agent that is a listing agent and you're the buyer's agent, and when you do that walkthrough, you just text them and say, hey, would you like me to bring the sign and key box to closing? Because they might only be going to that property to pull the sign and key box. So you're doing them a favor. And it's always good to have a good name, reputation, because a lot of agents are going to be making offers on houses, and if you have some type of tie-in, then they might work with you. At the end of the day, off with somebody else. All right, so now we're at the house. Everything looks good. If you're with a seller, you really don't do the walkthrough. If you're with a buyer, you do. everything's golden. The buyer comes over and they say, I think we're good. And then you have them follow you to the title company. Okay. So that's what the training is really about today. And so we walk in, let's say that Sophie's my buyer. We walk in the front and I go, hey, I'm Doug with, DHS Realty. And let's say that Paul is the title person. Hey, I'm Paul with Truly Title. It's my buyer, Sophie. Sophia or Sophia? Sophie, yeah. So my buyer, Sophie, and they shake hands or whatever. And then they'll usually ask the buyer for their driver's license and the seller just to make sure. So they'll go make a copy of their driver's license and then they'll take you into a conference room like one of these. I always like to say, where do you like me to sit? Because I don't want to sit where maybe the closer wants to sit, or I don't want to sit in the seat that's easier for the buyer to sit to sign paperwork.
Sorry. What all do you need in here?
If you have any plates.
And napkins and.
Yeah, but we're in a hurry. Yeah, we're fine.
But I'm getting ready to leave and Kelly's not gonna be here.
Oh, okay, I appreciate it. Well, I can do it. It's easy. Okay, so anyway, so they take you in there, and then after they make a copy of the driver's license, they'll come in and they're going to have, that thick paperwork. So what I wanted to go over today is what a closing disclosure looks like. Okay, and so I have a closing on Monday, and I'm with the seller. Okay, so I just want to kind of go over what a closing disclosure looks like. And of course, we've seen these in classes and you've seen them in tests, but sometimes it's good to just kind of understand what it is you're looking at, because sometimes it just looks like Latin. So if you look at the top, the first page of a closing disclosure, it basically says that, hey, on the left side, this is the seller's transaction. The seller is due $400,000. That was our sales price, and I'm with the seller. Okay, so this is going to be a closing disclosure for the seller, right? This is going to be seller charges. So the seller is due $400,000. That's credit. That's a credit. You're supposed to get that. So then at the bottom, it says, here are your debits. And the first thing they're going to do is they're going to show what the closing costs are. So if you see right here, the closing costs are $21.03 and 65 cents. You can see that the mortgage to pay off the loan was $83,221. And then it shows that the seller is paying the title policy, which is $24.13. Now, I don't know if you remember, but in school, I always made a point to say that the seller is always going to be debited January 1st to the day of closing for the year's taxes. That's what you see right there. You see a debit. So we have a debit of closing cost, a debit of the loan, a debit of the title policy, and that right there shows January 1st to June 8th, which is Monday. And that is prorated $27.88 and 44 cents. So when you add up 1, 2, 3, and 4, those lines all equal 109,526. You subtract 109 from 400 right down here, and you get that the seller is going to net 290,473. Okay, does that make sense on how to explain that? And now when I'm with Sophie and she's my seller, usually most sellers have already paid that in an escrow account. And so I go ahead and look at Sophie at the time and kind of interrupt the closer and go, hey, just so you know, you're going to get that amount back, but it's going to be like in 8 weeks. Okay. And she goes, oh, okay. And so I'll say, make sure to look for it and maybe even call your lender next week and just say, hey, I've closed on my house. I know I'm getting my escrow back. I just want to make sure you have the right address to forward that check to. Does that make sense? Okay. All right. So now we go to the second page. The second page is going to be the cost that the seller's paying at closing. Okay. Now, all these charges right here are just normal title charges. So I don't even explain them. And if I was a closer, I would just say, hey, Sophie, these are just your normal closing costs. We're itemizing this amount right here. So right here where it says 21,103, we're itemizing that on this page. So this is the start of the cost. You go to the next page, recording fee. That's also a standard title charge. When you get down here to the bottom, okay, that 300, that's a standard title charge. And then we see the commission breakdown. So I'm listing the home for 2%. 2 times 400 is $8,000. So that 8,000 is going to me as the agent. And then the agent that brought the buyer is getting 3%. 3 times 4 is 12. So that's the 12,000 there. This is a settlement fee that Truly Title charges. And then there's an endorsement. And you can see there that that equals 21,103 and 65 cents, which equals that amount right there. So it's itemized. Does that make sense? All right. Then we keep going. And you go to the next page. And it's nothing. All right. So now let's say that in this market, a lot of times, who pays the title policy in this market? The buyer. So even if the buyer pays the title, it'll still show as a debit right here. But then it'll show a charge to the buyer on the next page. That's just the way the government does it. So the government will always show a debit to the seller and not a credit if the seller's paying the title, but they will show a credit on the next page if it's being paid by the buyer. So it's a wash. Okay. All right. So anyway, so that's the closing disclosure. And then I always think it's important to know just a little bit of knowledge about the other forms that a title company gives the buyer. And so the main document that the buyer's going to get, we know, is called the deed of trust. And I've been in a lot of title companies that just don't know how to explain it. And I mean, you know how I explain it. I look at the buyer and go, this basically says if you don't pay, you don't stay. And you can say it in a Pepe Le Pew voice if you want. I mean, I have fun. So I'm like, it says if you don't pay, you don't stay. And they laugh, and I go, well, you basically have 4 people you got to pay. The property taxes, your mortgage, mandatory HOA, and anybody that does contract work. Mechanics lien. And you can see that if the buyer said, right when you said the property taxes, we know that the seller is being debited $27.88, and it's going to be given to the buyer. It's going to go to the buyer's escrow. Then they're going to also collect 3 months from the buyer. So that's 6 months of taxes, 3 months from the buyer before they make their first payment. If they close on June 8th, their first payment will be August 1. But when they make their August 1 payment, they'll already have 9 months. So August 10, and then you have 11 is August, September, October, November, December. So it'll be 14 months. There's always 2 months extra in case the taxes go up. So they have a little cushion. Okay. So that's perfect. That's perfect leadway into that first lien, because if they don't collect the taxes, they never know if the seller's lender really has it, because the seller's lender could be a crook and not have the tax money. Okay. All right. So you explain that deed of trust, and I don't go any further than that. Then they're going to get the note, and the note is funny because they see all the interest they're going to pay. And I don't know if I showed that on this one, but almost all the CDs show this one doesn't, but almost all the CDs show the actual amount of interest that somebody's going to pay. So like I looked at one this morning for an agent, and it was like $180,000 sales price. And on the last page, it said that you're going to pay $358,000 in total interest over the course of 30 years. So it just shows you how crazy it is. All right, so everything else other than those, really, this is a huge document to be able to explain if the title closer doesn't know. And then obviously the note is pretty simple. It's going to have the interest rate, the balance, and it's got the principal, and it's going to have the P&I. It'll say when the first payment is and when the last payment is. And then, of course, the deed of trust. Everything else is going to be real generic. So when you get somebody at closing that starts to like read every word, you need to look at them and just say, hey, here's the deal, Dave. I mean, we might need to reschedule so that you can read every page, but just being respectful to you and to the title company, what you're signing is what everybody in Texas signs today when they buy a home. The main things that I went over with you, that's what was important. Everything else is just basically they killed some trees to print.
You have like a buyer or someone that does that sort of thing. Is there something you can send them ahead of
3 days
time?
before. Yeah. Yeah. So what I would do is absolutely, like I've worked with people like that.
Yeah,
You know it.
I know some.
Yeah. And you know it when you're showing them houses or at or when you list, you know. And so, yeah, what you do is like, this is a sponsored title company, but whatever title company you use, you want to call and go, hey, this is Sophie. I think my seller's going to need to get those docs before closing just to make sure they can look them up. And so they'll send everything to them like 3 days before.
Yeah, and then they call you with 5 different questions.
Exactly. And then you just push it off to the title person if it's uncomfortable to answer. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Okay, so then what happens is you're gonna sign everything if you were either client, buyer or seller. They're gonna ask if you're the buyer. They're gonna, say, so did you wire the amount of money or did you bring the cashier's check? Cashier's check has to be made out to the title company. It's gotta be exact. If it's a little over, they'll cut a check back to the buyer. And sometimes you do that. Sometimes they don't know. And so you'll talk to the lender and the lender will say, just don't bring cashier's check for 22 grand. And it could be that when you get to closing, it's 22,500. They can write a personal check up to $1,500. And if it's too much, they'll check back to them from the title company. A wire is the best, but sometimes people like cashier's checks. The title person will always look for that check. You always also want to let the client know if it's a buyer, hey, Dave, I'll see you Monday. Just remember, it's a cashier's check or a money wire. Oh, I'm going to do a cashier's check. But we're closing at 9. Might be a good idea to get that cashier's check today. Yeah, I mean, just a pre-plan. So then the title person gets up, they go make copies of everything that you sign. And it's a perfect time when you are with the buyer to really ask for referrals, but in a pretty cool way. So what I do, and it's almost like second nature, is if Dave was my client, I would just go, hey man, congratulations on owning a home. This crazy market. I'm glad you put your trust in me, and I'm glad I can be your advocate. Just so you know, we're family now, so you're gonna get an email from me about once a week. It's gonna be a real estate article. Of course, I follow you all over social media. Keep in touch with me on social media because I post a lot that's gonna be beneficial to you as a homeowner. And it's gonna be a good idea to get a will. They're pretty cheap, $300. Because you put 20% down or 5% or 3%. That's still a lot of money. And you want to make sure if God forbid something happened to you, that property went to who you want it to go to. Be sure to water your foundation. Remember how I told you in the house that our house moves. We want to water the foundation. So maybe on the way home, stop at Home Depot and buy a soaker hose, SOAKER, a soaker hose. They're like $40. Buy a little Y connection. It makes one faucet have 2 nozzles, and then just put it around your foundation and about 10 inches away. Water about every 3 days or 20 minutes in the summer, once a week in the winter. And then just know this, that once you move into that house, everybody knows you're there. And so you're going to get a lot of letters from people that say for $95, we'll file your homestead exemption. You need to know that that's free. So before you write any checks other than your mortgage, just take a picture of it and text it to me. And I got a guy right now named Mohammed Shabuzer. And every day he texts me a picture of a letter that he got, and all I do is reply back, trash. And he sends back a heart emoji. And I mean, he's one of my favorite people ever. His boss bought a home for him. So I met his boss, who's like, pretty big wig. And then I met Mohammed, and we've just become really good friends. So he'll text me like every day. He's like, hey man, what about this? And I'm like, trash. He's like, are you sure? I'm like, positive. So, I mean, it saves a lot of money.
Are you like 10 people?
I am sometimes. Yeah. So so that's going to be important. So then what I do is when the closer comes back in, they're going to give them a document or a USB drive to keep the file on, and I'll tell them to put it somewhere safe. And then usually the title closer has a key, and I'll tell my client, hey, why don't you give your cell phone to the closer, and when the property funds, they'll text you, and you can come by and get the key at the front desk. Okay. Once you leave, you're gonna shake hands with them, get in the car. I usually wait an hour or so, and then I just send a personal message to my buyer. I'm like, hey, Dave, just want to tell you it's a pleasure working with you, and anything that happens over the weekend, let me know. One thing that's kind of funny is I said that once to a buyer, and they called me over the weekend. They're like, oh my God, the air conditioner doesn't work. And I go, really? I go, where are you at? And I go, oh, we're up in the attic. And I go, was there a light switch that you might have clicked down? And they go, I don't think so. And so I said, I'll come over. So I drove an hour into the house, up the attic, and right on a 2x4 was a light switch in the down position, which killed the power to the whole house, or to the furnaces up in the attic. I just went like this, and everything clicked. And they're like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I'm like, it's no big deal. I mean, again, it's going to be a client that I'll probably have for the rest of my life because nobody does that. So that's what the agents that we want here are the ones that are going to go be the star in the real estate transaction. And it's kind of like this morning. I've been on the phone an hour and a half with an apartment company to be a vendor, and it costs me $80 to do it for an agent that does leases, and I'm only making $50 on the lease. But I'm doing it because I want her to be with me forever. And so I'll cover any of those vendor agreements with apartments. It won't come out of your pocket. Whereas most brokers make you pay for it. And so again, it's just a commitment that I'm making that I think a good businessman sometimes, as weird as it sounds, does lose money on some transactions because they're long-term visionaries. And so that's what I'm trying to be here. And I've got people in line for, management, and my son, he's 20. So this company's not going anywhere. And so, and I'm also selling. So I don't look at it as like, this is the only income generator for me. And so then I'm able to put my own income from my closings back into the company and do things like every Friday we're going to have some type of little lunch and candy and crap like that. And it's just a small gesture, but a lot of times companies only have, once a month or once a quarter of lunch. So whether we have 2 people, 1 person, however many we have online, I'll always be here, putting that training on. And so that's really what I do. Now, one thing that I will kind of show y'all that, because this is part of the training and we're only 30 minutes in, I'll end it probably in 15 minutes, is I like to talk about some of the, and y'all can get to whenever you want, some of the contact managers that we have. So InTouch is something that I've used for really about 20 years. It's $40 a month. So it's not me, it's a separate company, okay? Now, I have a contact manager here that's free. I don't charge anymore for it. So it's a free charge. And it's through Real Geeks, which is our website. And you would get in touch with Lola for that. And she's on here. And so, if y'all had an interest in that. But let me just show you kind of what this InTouch is. So when I log in, you're going to see that it'll have Monday through Friday. Well, that's what's posted. If I wanted, that's what can be posted on my Facebook. But I have somebody professionally do my social media now. But when I was a realtor, I used this. Now that I'm an owner, I'm trying to recruit more, okay? So for $40 a month, every day they post this if you want on all your social media. Let's say that I met Paul right now. I have this on my phone as a website. On my phone or here, I would just go contact, add, next, say that he's agreed to let me email him. And then I would put his email, his first name, his last name. I go to the bottom and hit finish. And every Wednesday, you're going to get an email from these people. It looks like it comes from me. This could be a real estate article. But that's $40 a month. So, again, the one that's with our company is free. And it costs me $25 a month, but I just eat it because it's kind of weird. It's called Real Geeks. You know about it, right? Are you on it?
No.
Yeah. So were you at a point?
I was about to check it out and then everything changed, so I stayed with it.
Yeah, that's fine. So the reason why I'm doing it free is because I had somebody in our company that was charging $50 a month, telling me that's how much it was. It was really $25. So I fired him, and now it's $25, and I just waive it to be free because some people want a contact manager where there's no cost at all. It's called Real Geeks, and Lola, who's on, she will be the one to contact if you're interested in that. It's completely up to you. I don't do anything with it. So.
Use InTouch, and
You do?
It totally works.
Oh yeah, I love it. So, all right. So real quick, what we're gonna do is with the remaining time, which is about 15 minutes, I just want to do some practical stuff. So let's just goof around with Matrix. I think that's always going to be good whenever we do training to just it's kind of like when I work out, I always do like some type of shoulder exercise to end, and it never hurts. So, all right, so here we go. So if you go to matrix.netflix.net, okay, that's our website, okay? I mean, that's our MLS, okay? I have it on my phone, saved as a home screen. Now, you don't have it yet. When you do, it's going to look just like this because I log in as you with you next to me, and I clean it up so that when we train, whenever you log in, it looks identical so you have a source to know that there's some conformity. So let's say that you were, you have your house for sale. Let's say that somebody calls you, because anybody that calls me, I'm going to send them to you. So let's say that somebody, let me turn the person on mute. Okay, so let's say that somebody calls you and they go, hey, Sophie, I'd like you to do me a search of homes that are similar to yours. Okay, well, what do? The first thing you're going to do is you're going to type in matrix.netris.net. You're going to hit enter and the screen's going to look like this. At the very top, you're going to hover over search. When you hover over that, that's almost everything you need to know about MLS. Because the first one is if you're going to search homes. This is if you're going to search lots and acreage. And this is if you're going to search for leases. So we're going to search for residential homes and we're going to hit quick. So this is going to be your MLS search criteria. Well, we know your home's listed at 490. So let's say the buyer said, yeah, I'd like a home in your price range. So you go 0 to $500,000. I think I like it in Irving also. So you type in Irving. And they go, yeah, I think 4 bedrooms as a minimum. Well, if you look down here, you see there's 12 results. So all you do is hit results. I know, right? Now you're going to email it to your buyer. So this is what I tell people always. All you do is hit save. And when you hit save, there's 3 options. You always hit new auto email. And when you hit new auto email, you're going to get this screen. You're either going to already have the client in a drop down or you need to create the client. And so let's just make a hypothetical, Don Duck and Don@duck.com. Okay. And then all you do is hit save. And there's Don. In the subject line, I always just put homes because I'm about to text Don anyway when I send it to make sure he got it. You scroll all the way down. Before you hit save, you want to hit ASAP. And let me explain what that means. You just saw there's only 12 homes. So as soon as I hit save, I've emailed it to Don. The second after I email it to Don, if another home gets listed in that criteria, he's going to get it immediately with whose picture? Or yours, if you're the one seeing it. Okay? Hold on, somebody decided to join at 35 after. Hey, Kay. Okay, so now I'm going to hit save, and boom, I just emailed it. Okay, now what am I going to do? Well, I'm going to text Don. Hey, Don, this is Doug Smith with DHS Realty. I just sent you a list of properties, 0 to $500,000 in Irving, whatever the other criteria, 4 bedroom, there's 12. If you want to look at any of them, let me know. I'm available this week and this weekend. And then when Don, I want to confirm that he got them. And when he confirms that I got them, then when I log in MLS next time, his name's going to be right there. It's going to say Don Duck. Okay. Now you can see that Kim Wu, she favorited a home or probable it. So if she favorited a home, there'd be a heart right there. That's not a heart that she favorited a home. That's a friend of mine. I put a heart there. But Kim Wu, that's a client of mine. So if you favorited a home, that would be a heart. So right now you can just click on that and it'll go right to the property. And you'll know what it was. So now you can open it, and anytime you click on the MLS number, that's how you open it. Because this is called an agent full report, okay? And now it's not an agent full report because she gets it. Oh, yeah, it is. Okay, so she doesn't actually get it looking like this because that's the listing agent's information, and no customer of yours gets that so that they can't call them, okay? But when you click on it, you can. So let me just show you how to read this, just so you'll know. Were you listening? You were, because you were with me first, right? Yeah, right, because you're not in the So this is what you're going to see. And like, let's say it was your house. You click on that right there, it's going to go right to a map. It's going to say, like, what's important for me is, like, what the backyard face is. So you might be able to, like, zero in. Okay, as you just zero in. And you go, oh, okay, yeah, look at that. Backyard faces east because that's west over here.
So if side yard faces west, that's not north.
No, it's fine because I know yours does. Is it hot in the evening?
Yeah, I mean, Texas is gone.
Right. So right now you're fine because while it's on the market, we're getting a lot of showings.
The upstairs is always hot, the downstairs is
Yeah. No, it's
Well,
fine.
It also depends on if you have like big trees shading.
Oh yeah, you're fine. It's just something to be able to see. Like what if I looked at it and there's a water tower in the backyard? Like I would go, oh hey, I don't think we'll want to look at that. All right, so one thing, I don't know if y'all know, but one thing that's kind of cool is if you hover over here, it'll say recenter, layers, So if you click that, you can go down and click flood zone, and it'll tell you if there's a flood zone in the area or neighborhood. Isn't that kind of cool? So you can do all kinds of goofy stuff there. All right. If you look underneath the house, this is something that's always going to be important to know. But right here, you see that clock? If you hover over it, says history. If you click on it, it pulls up all the history since 2003 on that house. So you can see up there that there's one MLS number that's different than the other. So then when you go over here, you go, oh, it looks like it was bought as land in 2015. So if you click on it, you can see what they bought it for. So it was listed for $49,000. If you go to the very bottom, it'll say it's sold for $45,000. Okay. So all right. So then that's the MLS. All right,
So
and then the
03, because that's when this is started.
Yeah. All right, and then the other website that we really train on, and what I'll be doing for you when you get your board dues, is TexasRealEstate.com. Okay. So when you click on it, again, MLS is matrix.netrix.net, and this is TexasRealEstate.com. In the right corner, it'll say your name. Now it says hi Jeremy because I did his templates yesterday. So let me show you what I did for him. So Jeremy, well, let me log out and do me because that's weird. Yeah, he's an agent in my office, but I did his templates yesterday. All right, so when you log in, it's going to say login, and I'll be done in 5 minutes. You click login, it already have your information saved. The screen goes right back to the same website, and now it's going to say hi Doug in the right corner. Okay, so now you click on the blue zip forms, and the screen goes blue. The reason why I'm looking at you when I tell you what's going to happen next is because I know every screen without looking at the computer. And that's going to be good for you because it doesn't matter where I'm at, I'll be able to tell you what screen's next. Okay? So when the screen goes blue, and I say this always, there's only one tab you'll ever want to click. New, N-E-W. And you see it right there. That's all you'll ever click.
That's it. Never clicked any other button.
Yep. And if you do, your life will be so simple, it'll be sick. So watch when I hit new, 5 boxes pull up. And I only care about the first 3. So you don't even need to worry about the last 2. The first one is a seller. The second one is a purchase, a buyer. And lease is for tenant and landlord. So let's say that you're a buyer, okay? So I'm going to click on purchase. And then I need to name it. So I'm going to name it Trevia. And then I'm going to select residential always, no matter what. I don't care what it is. Always do that. It just makes it easy. Then you go here and it says select a template. When you click on it, you're going to have 4 options. I have 5, but you'll have 4. And you're just going to go, is Sophia a tenant? No. Is she a landlord? No. Is she a seller? No. Oh, she's a buyer. And then you just scroll down and all you do is hit save. So all I did there was name it, select residential, and pick the right template. When you hit save, the next screen you're going to look at is a white summary square. You're going to go 2 tabs over to documents. Summary square, 2 tabs over to documents. When you click on documents, this is what I've done for everybody. And that is that these are all the forms that you could ever use for a buyer. So right now we know that we need an IPS. So when we click on it and you scroll down, it's going to be pre-filled. That last line will be your name. But the first 3 in everybody's is my information. You go back, I need to make you a customer to a client. What am I going to do? The buyer rep agreement. It's right there. Right, it's almost right in order. You click on it. It's already pre-filled. All I'm going to do up here is I like to do all caps, so I'm going to do your first name, last name. I'm going to go down here. I'm going to click on the blank in paragraph 4, pick today's date, go here, pick the end of July, hit save, and I'm done with the buyer rep agreement. Because watch when I scroll down. It's already pre-filled. So there's nothing that you have to do. All right, so now you go back. Oh, I'll show you. So let's just do a contract real quick. It's good training for you. Are you good? Okay. So let's say you want to write an offer up. So I'm going to open up the 1 to 4 family. I got 3 minutes. I can do it. So I go to the very top. Okay. Now I've got the tax roll. I'm looking at it, and I know that the seller's name is Sally Seller. Okay. Sophia Smith. I'm just going to not spell your last name because I know how to spell that. Right here, lot 4, block A, G, blah, blah, blah subdivision, city of Plano, Collin County. Known as 123 Easy Street. I'm misspelling it because I don't care about being exact. I'm just trying to show you. All right, you go down, I have your pre-approval letter. We're going in at $500,000. It's a 80% LTV. That means the loan amount's 400 grand. You're putting 100,000 down. Okay, look at that. Third party's already marked. You put 400, you tab, it automatically says 500 on the price. You go down this paragraph. I already have a $100 option for 10 days. So we need to know the title company. Let's say it's Truly Title. Okay, and then, I'm sorry, I put the wrong thing there. Truly Title. Okay, you're gonna put their address. 2901 Downs Parkway. Okay, it's got $100 for 10 days. We're done on the option. What's the earnest money? Let's say it's $1,000. You go down, it's already got the seller's paying the title policy. So all I got to do, you put the same title company in 5, you do in 6. Okay, from there all the way, I don't even touch anything. It's all pre-filled. All the way to paragraph 9, basically. Paragraph 9 is the closing date. You click on the blank and you're going to be in touch with the buyer and the lender, and they go, yeah, let's close the end of June. From paragraph 9, you go to paragraph 21. And you're going to put the buyer's email in the bottom line there. And then your email is already going to be there. I template that. So that'll be your email, not mine. I already have marked the third party financing and HOA addendum. Those are the most commonly used addendums. You go to this page, I already have pre-filled your information on the left. On the right, you're going to put, whoever the listing agent is, Ebby Holiday. All right, you're going to fill out every line. Every line that's over here, it will be filled in on this side, same length. And then all you do is hit save. So now what you were asking is how do you send it to the buyer? Okay, I've got 1 minute left. Right, left corner, e-sign. Okay, you hit e-sign and it says, how do you want to send it? And I always tell people to go ahead and select 2.0, even if it's already selected. Because once you select it, look where the cursor is left on that sentence. And it says select other documents. So you select other documents, and then it says, oh yeah, I want to send the IBS, the buyer rep, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So you mark them, you hit close, you hit next. Now I have to put your email in. You're the buyer. So look right there. It says Sally Seller, and there it says Sophia Smith. So I hit that, and it won't let me check mark because I have to have a first name, last name, and an email. So I go over here and I put your email. Now it'll let me check mark. And then I hit close. And there you are. It's real simple. And then you hit next, and all the forms are going to load on the left.
Like all of this would take me alone.
Oh, I'll do it like that. Don't worry.
No, to learn how to do it on my own.
Oh no. Well, I mean, I'll help you, but you'll get it like that.
Is there a class?
It's just repetition. Yeah. It's almost like putting clothes on.
Honestly, you can even just, you can put all these up on videos.
Yeah.
You can just pull up the video and open your zip forms and literally do it over and over again.
So look at this real quick because I'm a minute over training. Everything's already got initials. All you do is hit next and send, and you just send it to the buyer. All that was done in about 15 minutes.
That goes there.
Yeah. So then what is I'm gonna stop the recording, but I'm gonna answer your question real quick. I like to keep training about 45 minutes or people won't watch it. But I think we did a lot in 45 minutes.